Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast Strikes Back. My name is George and you're listening to the weekly movie show with the boys Connor.
Hello.
And Benny.
Hi there.
Well, folks, here we are for another week, and what a week it's been. Comic-Con has dropped and Marvel, amazing panels, so many things. So we've dedicated a whole episode to that, separate from this one. This episode, we're just going to be catching up on all the other news, plus a lot of trailers that dropped this week. It Chapter 2, Top Gun Maverick, and I'm really excited also to talk about Watchmen. But of course, before we get into the news, we have to catch up on what everyone's been watching. And Benny, been away for a couple of weeks in Japan. Mm-hmm. How's everything been, man? We've been missing you.
Good. I've been missing watching movies and TV shows. And also you, of course.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Oddly enough, that last one didn't seem as sincere. It's so weird.
It's something you have to say. I, of course, have been, in Japan. Not a lot of time for sitting around watching TV over there, especially when someone smashes your phone and then someone else smashes it even worse. So the only real exposure I got was on the flights, where I decided to watch something that flights are a time you watch something you're never going to watch otherwise. Yeah. So I chucked on Once Upon a Deadpool, the re-release of Deadpool 2.
Oh, okay.
The PG-13, the PG-13 edited version with extra content. And say what you will about the delirium of flying, but I really, really enjoyed it. The added content, the wraparound, the Princess Bride kind of framing device that they put on it was so funny and so well written, acted, improvised, whatever it was. Fred Savage, the little boy from Princess Bride, he's so good in it. He's a big sitcom director nowadays. Okay. So his comic timing is impeccable.
Do you have to have seen Princess Bride to get a kick out of those scenes?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay.
If you're vaguely aware of it, it doesn't reference it overly.
Right.
If you just know what it's riffing on, which I'm sure you do. And otherwise, I really got to say, I don't think much, if anything, was lost from the removal of all the F words and the ultra violence. I think because it's PG-13, so there's still plenty of swearing and violence, just without all the blood and really excessive stuff.
Yeah.
And there are definitely some of the action scenes feel a little choppy because they weren't made to be edited that way. But the dialogue was all really kind of seamlessly done, I think. And like I said, I really don't think anything was lost. And if, Disney does want to neuter the character a little bit, I think he can be just as successful. Like if they incorporate him into the MCU, I think he will be just as funny, if not more funny, if they have to beep him every time he says the F word. Because I think there's something funny in that alone.
They could make a really easy joke of that when...
Like now that he's moved over to this universe, he can't be profane anymore.
Every time he says like fuck and he hears a beep, he kind of looks around and goes, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this before about how Deadpool could move into this universe really easily because he can break that fourth wall.
Exactly, yeah. And this movie, I enjoyed the experience more than watching Deadpool 2 the first time, because that movie was sort of a disappointment to me. There's all number of factors that, I'm not saying this is a better version necessarily, but I enjoyed the experience a lot more. Mm-hmm. And to give this movie the credit that I maybe didn't in the initial review, fuck, it is gorgeous. David Leitch is it, I think? The John Wick guy. It's such a good looking movie. So yeah, I enjoyed that a lot, and that is all I've watched.
Nice.
Wow.
Connor.
I went on a bit of a Guy Ritchie. I was going to say rant. That's not the right word.
Swept away.
Tirade.
King Arthur, the sword.
The Legend of the Sword.
I went for Snatch, and Rock and Roller.
Row.
Do you say row?
Yeah, I said row. Sort of fight you.
Which was really that was interesting to do because Snatch.
I haven't watched that since 2008.
Rock and Roller.
Yeah,
neither have I.
I don't think I've ever seen that one. That's the Gerard Butler one, right?
Yeah. So that was it was really interesting because going back to Snatch, that's quintessential Guy Ritchie. That's the creme de la creme.
Hey, like dogs.
And so to revisit that one was such a cool I remember Guy Ritchie when he was doing when he was at the top of his game.
Remember when that was considered a disappointment after Lock, Stock?
Yeah.
Oh, how little they knew.
Yeah, I mean, if you knew how
is that the case?
How it could fall.
Really?
Everyone was like, it's not Lock, Stock,
Wow. Okay.
I mean, Sherlock Holmes 2 comes out, and they're like, we wish this was Snatch.
It's not Lock, Stock is I kind of hold them both in the same general area. Lock, Stock is still a little bit better in my opinion, but very much, top of the tier for Guy Ritchie. And so, and one of the cool things about that, because it's one of his earlier films, is you see how he's, experimenting in finding his own kind of nuances in film. And it's things that you see that are a little bit more polished in future films. Say what you want about the future films, whether they, as a whole, they work, but there's usually, he usually injects something of interesting filmmaking into his movies, and so you can kind of see him experimenting with that in the earlier days. And so I went from that, and I went to Rock and Roll, and I'm not sure if that was his next film. There might have been some ones in between.
No, there's a few in between.
But Swept Away was definitely before that.
Yeah, that was the next one I remember. Like, that was kind of the next in the chrono. Like, if I think about it, it was
the next sort of gangster entry.
Yeah, and it was the kind of like, we're doing like another Lock, Stock, or we're doing another Snatch. I watched that, and I can't pin why this movie is a bit of a disappointment.
It feels like someone trying to make a Lock, Stock, or a Snatch.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
It doesn't have. It has a couple of the cool little filmmaking, ticks and that you usually find in Guy Ritchie films, but it's not overly heavy on that. It felt like a dumbed down version, to be honest, of his Snatch and Lock, Stock.
And that movie teases a sequel at the very end, doesn't it?
It
the real
does.
Rock and Roller, which still waiting.
Which it makes it feel a little bit more, and I hesitate to use this, but it feels a little bit more American. It feels a little bit more Hollywood, right? Let's make it look a little bit shinier. Let's simplify some things so that it reaches a wider audience, and let's set it up for a sequel.
And in a lot of ways, those first two feel very indie.
Oh,
big
very
time,
much,
yeah.
yeah. And I don't think they gave a fuck about whether you understood half the characters in that. In fact, there's lots of jokes about how you're not meant to understand half the characters. There's I won't call it convoluted storylines, but it's certainly like it's inventive. It's kind of all over the place. Whereas this one, just again, it feels a lot more. You're kind of waiting for it to feel that kind of rawness that you got out of Snatch. So yeah, that was a weird experience to go, and coming off the back of having seen Aladdin, I think that I would be really interested to watch Guy Ritchie's full filmography.
Brave man.
Sorry.
It's pretty stacked. He's basically pumped out a film every 2 years, other than Sherlock Holmes and The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which is 4 years. He's pretty prolific in terms of the amount of content he's put out over the past 20 odd years. I do recommend him on Joe Rogan, because his interview there, it's quite interesting to hear into his mind and like his process, and
I love his thoughts on fashion and
perseverance.
His thoughts on fashion and style and that, which I thought was really interesting.
Like what?
He was talking around about why he wears suits and what the power of wearing a suit is, and I just it's not something that I would have really ever thought about.
Should go hang out with Chris Nolan.
Should. Yeah, look, I think that it'd be really interesting to see, to just kind of watch through his filmography to see how his movies have changed and how that has, how the obvious injection of money into his productions has, influenced his filmmaking.
The interesting thing is that so every film up until then he had not been a producer on. He'd been a writer and director. This is Rock and Roller. And Matthew Vaughn, director of First Class, Kingsman, was always his right-hand man as a producer. And then Rock and Roller seems as though he was the main producer. So maybe it was just the fact that his team kind of, disassembled. Maybe it's because he had more control that it wasn't as good. Who knows? But something interesting there for sure. And that's when Matthew Vaughn sort of went off on his own and did Kick-Ass and whatnot. Is that everything, Connor? Mr. Ritchie.
Yeah, that's fine.
Nice. I've been listening to the Chernobyl podcast that you recommended, Benny.
Mm-hmm.
And a few of our listeners have actually messaged us saying how good it is on Instagram.
Nice.
And I cannot recommend this enough. It's so
The
killer.
podcast?
Oh, it's so good. For those who haven't seen our best and the worst of the year so far, go check out that because spoilers, this was one of my favorites. And this podcast is a really interesting other vehicle for you just to understand a little bit more about what happened behind the scenes. And the main guy, his name escapes me now, but he wrote The Hangover and stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting him to have this kind of personality. I was expecting him to be a lot more sort of jovial and sort of, I don't know, but he's very thoughtful. He really was. It was just so interesting to hear how determined he was to make this accurate. And if he couldn't make it accurate, he wanted to represent an accurate representation, if not 100% factually true.
And that comes across a lot.
And man, I just can't tell you, like, HBO just doing such a great job with this cross-platform. Like, I love being able to consume more content on this show without actually having to watch the show
Yeah,
all
it
over
feels like a
again.
nice return of special features.
Yeah, in a different way. So I think this is like, hopefully this happens for Watchman. That's an HBO series. Hopefully they pump out some stuff with Lindelof. I think this is a really, really interesting way to just build more content around a show and make people fall in love with the property even more. So if you guys are into Chernobyl, go check this out. Benny recommending good shit. Just quickly, have you seen In the Mouth of Madness? Because I mentioned this last week.
No, I haven't.
Dude, we got to sit down and watch that shit because it's so good.
I've been blasting the score for like the last year and a half since I discovered
Oh
it,
man!
but haven't gotten around to it.
And
You
those
should
John
have
Carpenter
suggested that to Georgie.
I should have, yeah.
and those
My
John
bad.
Carpenter albums are insane. I'm pumping them right now.
Yeah, nice.
Let's get into the news.
Definitely. First up, the big one. Drum roll. My God, we've been waiting for this for a while. On Saturday, Disney and Marvel's Avengers Endgame crossed $2.7902 billion at the global box office, surpassing Avatar's $2.7897 billion benchmark and the 10-year run as the highest-grossing film of all time.
What a roller coaster.
Congratulations, yeah. All of the analysts said it wasn't going to happen, mostly us. We are the key ones.
This is
I
the weird
maintain that Bob Iger definitely funneled money into this.
Of course he did.
Honestly, because the way that this kind of seemed to stall just like $30 million short. And I looked at it a couple of times during that week when they released the extra footage, I say in quotation marks.
Yeah.
And, I was like, oh, well, they haven't done it. Like, how are they going to milk $30 million out of this thing when the extra footage didn't do it? And then to see that just kind of pop up the other day, I was like, the fuck how did this happen? And the first thing I thought of was like, that's $30 million of Bob Iger's money. Guarantee you.
Yeah, personal check just over to some
Yeah,
theater.
like if they'd hit this the week after that re-release happened, it would have been more of a triumphant victory. But this is like that stumble towards the finish, and
Nonetheless, they got it. A Disney property has beaten another Disney property. 10-year record breaking, that's pretty significant. Again, all of this stuff is very compromised. It doesn't really mean too much. Avatar was 10 years ago. There's inflation. There's 3D ticket prices. There's Gone with the Wind being by far the highest grossing film of all time, if you take inflation into account. But still, congratulations. They've earned it.
yeah,
I've always thought that it'd be really interesting to get numbers on attendance or on like tickets bought. I've always thought that should be a far more interesting, or that would be a far more interesting metric to use.
Oh yeah, I think just if you're ever looking at these numbers, try and get as many different metrics as you can because they're all interesting in their own way. The list of adjusted for inflation highest grossing of all time is so interesting.
yeah, it's fascinating.
Just like socially
And you have to also factor in the number of screens as well. You have to set number of attendees versus number of screens because if it was only on one screen and a shitload of people rocked up, well, maybe it's because the local area marketing wasn't good. There's a lot of variables in there. So,
And a fun little tidbit is this Avengers re-release earned about $40 million. The Avatar re-release earned about exactly the same.
okay.
But that was a much more significant. That was 9 minutes of footage added back into the film at a cost of $1 million per minute. So that was a proper kind of director's cut sort of thing. Did we ever mention what the
Yeah,
for
you
anyone who
did.
didn't see it, what the actual Spider-Man footage was that they had in the re-release? Because they had a tease for Spider-Man Far From Home in it.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
But do you know what it was?
No.
It was literally the first scene from Far From Home with Nick Fury and Maria Hill going to Mexico.
Oh.
That was it. And then Mysterio comes up and is like, "You don't want any part of this."
Wow, that was it.
That was it.
Wow.
And we've found out since then, since Spider-Man Far From Home came out, that there is an entire deleted segment, Peter's to-do list, that has that scene of him taking down the mafia guys in the restaurant or whatever it is that was in the trailers.
Yeah.
And that's going to be included as a short film on the DVD. Put that in the re-release
for
because
sure.
that's something cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've railed on that re-release enough, I think. It's done now. It's official.
Yeah, I don't know.
We all said it was absolutely going to happen, then absolutely not going to happen.
It was going to hit 4 billion, baby.
It's such
I
a
remember
roller
that
coaster.
one.
Do you think this is the ceiling? Like,
For 10 years or so, yeah.
yeah.
I think I mean, we can talk about this more in the Marvel Comic Con episode, but it's going to be a while, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's just because they've only just beat them.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's not as if what's the closest thing to Avatar? It's like Titanic, and that's still it's quite a big gap, isn't it?
Force Awakens, Avatar, Titanic. Oh yeah, Force Awakens is third. Yeah, fourth now. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, just give me 2 seconds. Worldwide. God, it looks good sitting there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
At 2789. It's almost $600 million away from number 3. Number 2 and 3 are about $600 million away. So when Avatar overtook it by quite a bit.
Yes.
Whereas this has only just inched by. You would expect the next big thing to kind of blow past it. Maybe this is just as far as you go.
Well,
all these the top earners will be defined by a couple of million.
and also the changing landscape.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
look
industry's
at
changing so much.
spoilers. There's a lot of Disney Plus shows. It's not all heading to the cinema.
Yeah.
How do they? What metrics will we be talking on in the future? Will it be number of view time, number of viewership, or whatever that phrase is on Netflix? Not a dollar value.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it's
getting
interesting
very
that you mentioned that because it's not in our news thing, but Netflix just recently recorded their first net drop in subscribers,
Yeah,
I think
saw
ever,
that.
which is that is very interesting.
Yeah.
Was
it 100,000?
Everyone's getting ready for Disney Plus, baby.
They initially said 300,000, but then the report was 110, I believe,
Yeah.
in Q2 of this year.
It's because they
But they lost
cancelled
it.
Iron Fist.
That's what it was. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I think that's really interesting because I think we're entering a new era of
Yes.
streaming. Like I think
The Disney era.
we had exactly,
And I don't
we had
mean the era
Netflix
of streaming. I mean a new era of the world. It's the Disney era. This record is Disney's now and forever, whether that be Avengers Endgame or whatever they release next.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever going to knock it out of it being a Disney thing.
You're
Yeah.
probably right.
Mm.
Until Fox comes back and buys Disney, and then who the fuck knows?
I mean, what other production company is like? I mean, Netflix is probably going to be a contender, for in that realm in terms of production and,
We'll see.
distribution.
But it's just the IP is just not there for any other entity.
But I think that's
Pixar,
what makes it so
Marvel.
impressive. I mean, if you think about what Disney is doing and what Netflix is doing, you have to give kudos to Netflix
Of
because
course.
Netflix is not using or is not for the most part using existing.
They're
IPs.
trailblazer. It's awesome.
That's the
Disney
thing, though.
is
They're a
using-
trailblazer. They got such an early foothold and such a long-standing and strong one that I feel like they haven't done that great a job other than just throwing content mercilessly. I feel like they're going to be losing that footing very quickly.
I think that's
soon.
how they got to where they are. I think that they are, and then you're starting to see it. They are beginning to release, I think, movies that are not just put out for the sake of it. They'll have The Irishman coming out.
Take your word for it.
Last year, Netflix had at least one or not, if not two, films that made our top 10 lists. It would have been two for me. It was what's that Natalie Portman one called?
Natalie Portman one? Oh, Annihilation.
Annihilation.
But that was...
and they had Haunting.
Yeah,
Full
but that
House.
was Paramount produced, and then they shelved the distribution.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I agree with you. The problem is whenever you've the first enter into the market, often a lot of people leverage all that failure that you've done, and they one up on you. And I think that's what Disney's doing in a way. They've let Netflix road test it, take all the learnings from there, maybe even poach a few people, come on in, product development, and hey, there we go.
If Netflix actually poses any threat to Disney, they'll just buy them. So whatever. Speaking of serious contenders, we're getting a theatrical Walking Dead film.
Oof.
And it will focus on Andrew Lincoln's Rick Grimes. So this is only about 5 or 6 years too late, but it's still a pretty interesting move.
Why is it interesting? Because I've watched one episode of The Walking Dead and I was like, I don't get it.
It's an interesting move because how many seasons has it gone for now? 7,
Yeah,
8?
I think it's in its 10th
10th
now.
Jesus.
And then there's the other one?
He
What's
left.
the other one? The Fear of the Walking Dead.
Fear the Walking Dead,
Is that a
yeah.
separate show?
That was a prequel show that very quickly kind of caught up to the other show. I only watched half a season. I have no idea
Have
what's
you
going on with that now.
watched The Walking Dead?
I've watched the first 5 or so
wow.
seasons.
Wow.
Yeah,
What a keen.
I was very on and off. Like I was never like super dedicated, but I'd always read
Don't
the
lie to
AV Club
me.
reviews, and every now and then it would just get one of those B pluses or an A. I'm like, well, maybe I'll catch up. And it's a very well produced show. You got to say that. Amazingly well cast, great acting, very repetitive writing. I've read a lot of the comic as well, and it's the same thing. You know, everything's horrible, then they find a refuge, then humans are the real monster, and then everything goes bad again, and then they find another refuge. But so Andrew Lincoln left the show mid-season last year. He was the main character. His exit from the show was dumb as hell from all I could tell. I haven't watched it. I've read a lot about it. Not as dumb as some other characters. But yeah, they announced shortly after that there would be 3 TV movies starring him. And we have not heard really anything about that since. And then suddenly just the other day they come out, they're making a theatrical film. Which, I don't know, does that seem incredibly misguided to you?
Yeah.
I think
Because the brand is one of the biggest in the world of TV.
Is the viewership still strong?
No, it's been
Okay.
dropping heavily.
So as you said, 5-6 years ago, it's a killer move. This comes out 2013, probably would have fucking killed it. Right now, that from what I hear and what everyone tells me who's into this show, it's gassed the fuck out.
But this show created a huge zombie boom.
Oh, massive.
And if they had capitalized on that earlier, which they did with the show, each season broke records. Like it was kind of
That's
for a while
HBO,
there.
right?
It was AMC. It was
AMC,
kind of,
yeah.
like Game of Thrones and Walking Dead. Those were the big two guys.
Yeah.
In terms of viewership. But it's definitely the last couple of seasons I think have actually started to see a decline for the first time. So yeah, this seems I don't know, but on its own, the idea of a Walking Dead movie, I think there's a lot of promise in that because the world that they've set up is very interesting, and the comic actually just wrapped up finally after 190 something issues.
Right.
It was very interesting. It came out of nowhere. There was an issue, and then the next issue was coming out, and it was like, oh, by the way, this is the last issue.
Wow. I mean, that's a cool way to
Robert
do it.
Kirkman, awesome writer. So that was
No
cool.
fucks given.
Yeah, absolutely. And I people seem to be pretty happy with the comic ending, but
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. No interest in this from you guys, I assume.
No, I think I've watched maybe half an episode of The Walking
Really?
Dead. On a concept level, it seemed pretty cool.
Well, I mean, but what is different to the concept? Like, it's zombie apocalypse, right? Like,
Well,
what
no, I
else
like the
is-
idea of doing a TV show.
Yeah,
that
like a
deals
long
with
form-
what happens after the outbreak. Like, there's so many movies that you can watch that are like
About the outbreak.
It's an hour. Or 2 hours. It's about the outbreak, or it's about shortly after the outbreak, and it follows like one person trying to survive in a very kind of isolated or kind of
Yeah, no, I got you.
one scenario. And I like the idea of going long form of, following a set of characters and how they navigate a world that's changing, bring in some kind of apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic style things in there. But when they got on, when I started hearing about how the writing became very repetitive and how,
Which,
the
in all
show
fairness,
was
that
just-
world would probably be, but
Well, exactly
it doesn't
right.
make
And
it
I
any
think-
more fun to watch.
Which to me was, I would have probably gone and watched it if they had capped off at like 3 seasons or something, which I think would have been artistically a really smart thing to do.
Just felt like they didn't have much of a long-term plan, which is always, hard to do. But
But I mean, they have so much source material to draw off.
Yeah, but there was the same kind of repetitive nature. It was just really bleak and
with the black and white art style.
Feels like a realistic interpretation of what living in a zombie apocalypse would be like. Like, yes, bad shit would keep happening, but yeah, you do get to a point where it burns you out. The one good thing about the repetitive nature is this film will definitely not require you having seen any of the series, I feel. Yeah. Like you can watch the first couple episodes and you will be caught up. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. That's a weird one. Very surprising. Speaking of surprising, Edward Furlong is to reprise his role as a young John Connor, providing a new performance to be digitally added over child actor Jude Colley's face. Oh. So this is John Connor from T2, Judgment Day. He has not had a good run. He's one of those typical child actor stories.
Poor guy.
Drugs and alcohol.
And domestic violence, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that correct or incorrect?
You better back that up, buddy.
I was reading That's
headline reading, mate.
Yeah.
Connor's speciality.
Yeah. The actor was arrested multiple times on suspicion of both felony and misdemeanor domestic abuse.
Suspicion.
So his face is going to be put on some other kid's face and de-aged, so he's going to be a little baby.
It sounds like a very complicated and probably unnecessary process. Yeah.
I feel as though this could be weird, but it could, like, the face replacement tech has gone so crazy. I mean, on that Corridor Crew, like the YouTube channel Corridor Crew, they go through the Scorpion King scene and they fully do it up, and they
in a day.
deep fake put the Rock's face on the Rock. And it looks better.
It's a significant improvement.
So, I mean, if that's just AI, there's some pretty crazy stuff they can do here. I just feel like,
Why go to that effort? Why bother?
Because they can. Because this is a Jim Cameron production. They've got to push everything as far as they can in terms of the digital realm. But
storytelling. So this is obviously going to be a flashback, or there's going to be some kind of what's the significance behind it?
So there's a lot of indications as to where this story is going to go. I don't think John Connor's going to be in it for long, but
I think this is a loss of focus from,
or loss of their minds.
Loss of focus from the filmmakers and that are doing this, which is that
to bring him back.
No, well, yeah, but that decision to let's like what you said, let's push the boundaries of technology.
In all fairness, Jim Cameron has been behind some of the biggest technological breakthroughs. Terminator 2, Judgment Day. My God, the stuff that movie did has changed the industry forever.
Avatar still looks incredible.
Avatar,
bro, that water, man, that water.
We got to watch that again. And also, I got to say, what we've seen of this movie, Terminator: Dark Fate, which I did not mention. I think this movie looks pretty damn good visually.
Visually, it looks awesome.
Yeah. Tim Miller, he's a visual effects guy. He did Deadpool, which I think looked great as well for the budget it had. And
then the tech involved with that new Terminator, I'm loving that. The suit and the layering on top, love it.
And if you're ever going to take a franchise to really be experimental with technology-wise, do it with one no one cares about, like Terminator. Like, what have we got riding on this? It's fine. So good luck to him. Eddie Furlong potentially deserves a break. Maybe not. Who can say? That's for the courts to decide.
Yeah, I'm more curious about what this means for the story, and I have heard what you've said, and they're taking it in a different direction.
And I like the idea of kind of subverting the chosen one trope and going in a different direction with it. So I'm kind of keen to see this movie because I didn't watch the last one.
You didn't see Genesis?
Hell no.
Bro, we are sitting down for that shit. We need a case of beer.
All right, give me two.
We can do that.
What time is it though?
It's trailer time.
Trailer time. So we have got a lot of trailers to get through.
Rapid fire.
76 to be exact.
Yeah, strap in everyone.
So let's just get through these. First on our list, we've got It Chapter 2. I mean, did you guys find this one as impactful as the last trailer?
Negative.
With the teaser trailer?
But different. But very, very different.
Very different indeed. I got to say, I haven't watched the last one in a while. That one kind of blew me away. I think this one did more so. I am so goddamn keen for this movie. And this trailer, just every part of it, I'm just like, I love it.
I wish I had that same feeling because I thought that first one, the way they did the one scene and then the clips at the end, that I'm like, that is a fucking trailer, bro.
Yeah, it's a cool way to do it.
And then this one was just your typical trailer where you sort of saw, and the imagery in this looks amazing.
Yeah, but that's what I think. They threw a lot of really esoteric imagery in there that if you haven't read the book, I've read bits and pieces about it since the first one came out, so I kind of have hints. But I feel like it's pretty random kind of stuff getting thrown at you.
And then there's
Pretty
also some
trippy.
cool stuff with like referencing back to the first one. I think it's just going to be a really awesome little two-hander. It's chapter 1
I
and
really
chapter
hope so.
2. I hope they nail it because this looks promising.
So one of the things that I got out of watching this trailer was just how good of a job they did with the sound production of the first one. That nee 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 nee, just not even just the
It's iconic,
melodies
isn't
of it.
it?
It's iconic, and it's just from the trailer. It's not in the movie.
But what is that?
What's that sound?
That sound. It's like a weird synth kind of kazoo type thing.
with some reverb and something.
yeah, and I like.
Yeah, it's got that graininess
Yeah.
that a kazoo has.
And-
Yeah.
How bloody effective is it? Like it's
just literally my one disappointment from the first film that it wasn't in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I loved it so much. It's so weird.
and it goes to show that trailers are a bit of an art form themselves.
And it has always had really good ones.
Because it's, when we see trailers like every day, but when one is, either really bad or really good, they stand out.
That's how you get the views.
Yeah.
Really good or really bad. The one thing that really stood out for me in this trailer was how great of a job they've done with the young old casting. Seeing them all
It's so
juxtaposed.
With the
Especially Ben.
crossfades?
Especially Ben. I couldn't believe the little the chubby
He
one.
looks awesome.
Because we knew they were going to cast him as like kind of he grew up good, like turned into a
Yeah.
beefcake, but he looks so much like him
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
It's so good. I'm so excited to see
Hater
did
is
an
both
amazing
of these
job.
casts.
still so spot on.
He's got exactly the same frame glasses as well.
That's
like, well done,
that was,
sir.
He was kind of the one I was like the least because they just put the same glasses on him. I'm like, but he looks identical.
He has
It's
two
like,
arms, two legs.
it's like the
Come on,
Chubba
even
Chup
without
ad
the
where the guy has
glasses.
the Chubba Chup in the ID and in real life. I'm like, yeah, it's the same guy.
But even without the glasses, come on,
Yeah,
that's
totally,
pretty
totally,
damn good.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know what it was that I wasn't like, oh, I'm fucking good.
But you know what really did it for me was the voiceover, Pennywise's voiceover. His
Yeah.
voice sounds like nothing human. It is amazing. He is the most amazing performer.
Skarsgård is he's so on point
To
with
see him
that.
at the end there, Bill
Yeah.
Skarsgård without all the makeup and probably look more terrifying is a testament to how
Like
committed he is to
guttural.
this role and how much cocaine he needs to get in there. 'Cause that's
It's
That's
not
a
white. It's not white
necessity.
face paint. He's just covered in it. He's dipping his head in every take,
his left eye's like, "Ah!"
looking for more.
But I just need this movie.
Yep,
Like,
most anticipated.
Please.
Trailer number 2, we have Top Gun Maverick. I have to make an admission to you.
Uh-oh.
I've never seen Top Gun.
You haven't
really
gone through the
sad, man.
danger zone. I only saw it for the first time a couple of years ago in 3D in the cinema. There was a re-release. Yeah,
Good in 3D?
it was a good. As far as 3D goes, it was well done. The movie itself was so much fun.
Yeah, it's an awesome movie.
It is really good. There's not much of a plot to it, but it's just this weird, big, fun gay movie. And it's people talk about the gay subtext of that movie. It is super text. It is not subtext. They knew what they were doing, and they did a great job with it. It is a really cool movie. Amazing aerial photography, and this movie looks like even better. I cannot believe how good this looks.
The aerial photography in this is insane. I feel like there's a bit like Chris Nolan in Interstellar when he put the camera on the side of the ship and it gave it that really locked on physical feeling. Like they're going for that here, and they did it in.
There's that shot of him taking off the carrier,
Yeah.
which really highlights that. And I thought, and when
But that's been a trend that I've seen
Yeah.
with this aerial photography, and they seem to be embracing that to the next level.
when I saw that scene for the first time, I thought there's two things that went through my mind. Was first of all, is Tom Cruise actually just flying a fighter jet?
He definitely learned how to
Which
fly.
100%.
would not surprise me.
No, he definitely did.
Well, how insulting to people that actually fly jets, and you're like, you need like genuine skill and a lot.
You know,
of
someone was
training.
doing it, and he actually did that thing where he flies up above him, upside down. It's like, was that Tom Cruise?
Goes into a mountain. That was Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Shit.
Which is, I think it's one of the greatest tricks pulled by Hollywood, which is that whenever you see Tom Cruise in a stunt, you're like, is that Tom Cruise actually doing that thing.
No, for me, it's like, holy shit, they're really doing whatever is on screen right now.
He's holding onto a plane. That is a plane.
There's nothing. It doesn't matter whether it would be, for certain death. You're in your brain, like everything just feels more real in a Tom Cruise film. I just think it's this brilliant marketing /
I reckon it's probably in his contracts that the take that finally kills him has to go in the film.
Oh yeah,
probably
100%.
Mission Impossible.
Was it
8.
in Corridor Crew when they were talking about how he in Mission Impossible 3 they were like, no, you can't do these stunts. So he's like, fuck you, I'm becoming a producer.
Yeah.
And he became a producer on
Done that
MI3 ever since. And so nobody can basically, there's no red tape for them to say, hey, Tom, listen, don't strap onto the plane. He's like, I'm doing it. And that's the way it's going down. And I think that is just taking your own destiny into your hands. And it's a really cool thing to see.
So this movie presents a major red flag by being a very belated sequel to an 80s classic.
Yeah.
Albeit one you haven't seen, so you don't have any baggage there, which is cool. But
very different in tone, it looks.
Director John Krasinski, I think I got that right.
Oh, is it Krasinski from Tron?
Joseph Krasinski, sorry. Yes, Tron and Oblivion. Oblivion is one of my most underrated movies of this century.
You can see he's got that. He's the visual style. He's got that really meticulous look, and you can see that in this.
Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And I think this movie looks absolutely amazing. Yeah. Obviously,
cinematography looks amazing.
Everything I'm taking away from this trailer is how it looks visually.
Yes.
Yep. But at this point, that is enough for me. I think it looks great.
And the trailer doesn't really give much away. It's more of like, here's a bit of a sort of thumbprint of what it's going to be. It's not kind of getting into the details.
The biggest takeaway is how well Tom Cruise has aged compared to Ed Harris, who looks like a fucking canyon.
Ed Harris, like, he finally got old, man.
Good up with you.
He's been the old guy since like 96 or something, and now he's gone to that next level.
Speaking of spaceships.
Oh, what a segue.
The segue master returns.
That's what you get paid the dollars, bro.
Oh, fuck. We have Brad Pitt's Ad Astra. This is the second trailer that we've gotten. This is Brad Pitt and Tommy Lee Jones in a Interstellar-esque style film.
A little more sort of interesting. Like we talked about this on the first one. Just an interesting take on like the real world production design with more of a out there space adventure, and I'm really liking that combination. I'm liking it even more in this. I think it looks beautiful. I love Brad Pitt in this setting. I think these action sequences look great.
Kind of like Martian level blockbuster, but with more like just more sci-fi. Like every trailer we see for this, I'm so much more surprised by how real sci-fi it is. Like I thought it was going to be more kind of real worldy Martian sort of thing, but
The Martian was, and that was something really cool to see for The Martian, which was like this kind of, if someone was actually living on Mars, apart from the fact that it wouldn't have been red, but like if they were actually living on Mars, what would have that been like? And
apart from it being red,
it wouldn't have been red.
Here we go.
What do you mean?
Oh, no, never mind. It's just not. It's just, I'm saying like it was kind of as realistic.
If you read the science books, I think you'll find.
No, all I'm saying is that it was.
You're scaring George.
It's more of a maroon brown.
Shut up. That was like kind of a realistic interpretation. This feels a little bit more 2001 space kind of Odyssey type style.
I don't know. I think
very sci-fi
in the
like
look,
you said, Ben.
in like his suit, that he looks like there's one shot where it's like it almost looks like the 2001 with the reflections in his helmet. But then they're going on the moon with those little trucks and they're shooting at each other with pistols. And I'm like, this is crazy. I've never seen this before. This feels like GoldenEye or something. Like I'm loving this. Really excited, and it seems to have integrity in the story. There's a lot of intrigue. What happened to Tommy Lee Jones's character? Like, there's a lot in here that's got me very, very interested.
Looks very cool for like an original property. Is it based on anything?
Let's have a look.
I don't think so.
Let's check it out. Because I definitely never heard
the
of
book
any.
Ad Astra, actually.
It's probably based on the book Ad Astra. Hey,
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of that?
I'm basically hedging my bets right now. If there's a book, I'm going to look super smart.
Based on the 1964 novella Astra Ad.
Based off James's
brain.
Gray's mind.
James's
Cool.
Grace.
James's Gray's no book, no
Good
nothing.
to hear.
So
We
this
don't
is-
see many of these.
That's fucking awesome.
Except
man.
Avengers Endgame was the last really cool original thing we saw, I think. I think it's based on something.
yeah.
Yeah, checks out.
You just see the joke hovering above his head.
Engage or not.
Engage.
Speaking of,
Yeah, we should jump to that, I guess.
no, sorry,
That's such a good segue.
It's not next on the list.
You can't be the only good segue guy.
Well, make
Talking
segues
about
in the right.
sci-fi.
No, it's cats. Speaking of sci-fi. Speaking of terrifying sci-fis.
There's a shot in here of Michelle Williams. No, the girl who won American Idol. And she looks fucked, man. Like the CG on her face, she's singing or something. Holy moly! Like this is disconcerting, unsettling, uncanny valley, weird, not working for me. And I don't think many
Jennifer
people
Hudson,
on the
you're
internet. Jennifer
talking about?
Hudson,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, this is
she's singing the trailer.
This is a bit of a weird one because just on a concept, like just on a visual level, this is really disconcerting. Like I'm not a huge fan of these kinds of musicals, but I mean, I went and I watched Les Miserables, and I got through that and I thought it was relatively good.
The film version.
Yeah, so
Okay, same director.
I won't, automatically say no to a movie just because it's a musical. But this just on a visual sense.
So this one has captivated me. This trailer got a lot of traction when it came out for all the wrong reasons. And Cats is one of those musicals everyone's heard of. It's one of the big blockbusters. It's been running consistently since the 80s. I had to do so much reading about it. It seems like it's kind of a joke even within the musical community. Like not that many people seem to like it at all. From what I can tell, it's basically like a series of poems set to a ballet. Like there's not much of a plot to it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make much sense. It's all about the dancing and the feel of it. And then this movie comes along where they've spent millions of dollars on this new technology to create what is essentially the costumes from the stage.
Yeah.
And I'm in this weird place about it because like I said, I've scoured the internet and I think I'm the one person who kind of likes how it looks. I dig it. I think visually it looks really cool. I'm not really getting an uncanny valley thing from it. I was much more disturbed. I was much more disturbed by The Lion King, the trailers.
Yeah.
I've not seen the movie.
I think it's interesting. It's not something I would want to watch for 2 hours.
Totally, but I don't think Cats would be in any case, especially for you, George.
Yeah.
Cats is for the stage. This is
Jesus.
it's
Where I
not-
never go.
No, I'm happy to go see it, but it's like some of those properties you can't like. There's inherent mediums, podcasting, comic books, TV, films, stage. They all have their own inherent strengths and weaknesses and things that you need to lean into and things you need to leave on behind. And this one, I feels like I don't know if this is a good one to bring to the.
Like, why are you doing it if you're just reproducing the stage?
Yeah, it's like for example, you've got the Lion King, the 94 version, and then you bring it to the stage and you do a different version, you package it up differently. Now then you take that same version on the stage with the people in the amazing costumes and stuff and bring that into a film setting similar to this. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. So I feel as though it's like you got to pick and choose your battles. And hey, I fucking love cats, like actual felines,
Not anymore.
Felinus catus, as the Latins say. No, I'm not around this as
But
concepts.
there is, I would happily put the statement out there. There is no version of this that you would be happy with or interested in.
100%.
Yeah.
Same.
And I'm honestly in a similar boat because Cats as a musical has never appealed to me. I like musicals a lot, but I'm a little selective about them. I've never seen Cats, and from all I can hear from even diehard musical fans, they don't like this one. But just this trailer alone, just for me, the reaction has been so overblown. I think it looks really cool. But that's just me, and I'm not going to fight for it because I know I'm alone.
Also, can I say that if I see one more trailer with this exact trope in it, I'm going to lose my mind, which is that they say, and with Rebel Wilson, and then it's Rebel Wilson doing something sort of funny and then hurting herself or making a joke about her being fat.
Horrible.
I'm like,
horrible.
every trailer that Rebel Wilson is in, it's that exact same thing. And with Rebel Wilson, either fat joke or her hurting herself, cut to next scene.
Without that bit of her, I might have actually gone to see this film.
and the thing is, I don't dislike Rebel Wilson.
No.
It's just the presentation.
Yeah, it's just the way that she's cut into these damn trailers. It's like you can set your watch by it.
I don't dislike her either, but I don't really want to see her in movies often. I can't think of many movies.
Irregularly, I'm cool with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I don't dislike her in films. I'm not going because, oh, look, it's the new Rebel Wilson film. I'll go check that
I
out.
do sometimes dislike her in films. It's a
Okay.
bit grating.
Which one?
Rebel Wilson.
No. Which films?
The Pitch Perfect movies.
Yeah. I don't mean to like
Rubicon.
put you on the spot. Which films? Name them specifically and in
Specifically
order.
those Dirty Rotten Scoundrels remake. What was that called? Whatever. The Hustle. I don't know. It's fine.
Oh, yeah.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
And with that,
Next, we have...
Sorry, can I just jump in really quickly? I just want to say Jennifer Hudson's rendition of Memory from that trailer was amazing. Okay, that's it.
oh, listen,
She's getting no credit.
She is an amazing singer, man.
And it's a banger of a song,
incredible.
man. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
But she looked fucked.
Um,
Her face was moving around and shit. I was like, what?
next, we have Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. So did either of you... Have either of you watched Jay and Silent Bob?
Ages ago, man.
Nope. I used to say that I hate Kevin Smith. Then he had a stroke. Now I'm like, I don't like his movies.
Hey, what do you got against Kev?
Nothing now. He's a great guy. I love him.
You
Good-
just don't
good
like
on you.
fat people?
Well, he's not fat anymore, so he's good in my
Exactly.
book.
Jesus.
Exactly.
Actually, what you said, without the right context, is terrible. Because you're like, I hated him when he was fat, and then he stopped being fat, and now I like him.
Something horrible
So
happened to him, and I remember seeing all the headlines going around. I'm like, fuck, like I
gone.
hate that I've been negative to this guy, and he almost died here.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that you clarified that because it sounded so bad.
Oh, that too, absolutely.
He's such an interesting guy because he hasn't
Yeah.
been hand-fed
and Clerks
a
is great.
career.
The first Clerks is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that original kind of belongs to a style of comedy which I really loved as a teenager. It's dumb. It's crude.
Dumb.
It's dumb. And weirdly enough, I think it has its place. Like I would hate to see those kinds of movies.
It's your dumb Friday night movie. It's no different to like a Baywatch or something, like
I
slap
don't
it on,
know that I would sully my Friday night with that.
grab a pizza,
How many-
couple beers.
How many actual Jay and Silent Bob movies? Is Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back? Is that the only actual Jay and Silent Bob movie? Do
I
they just
think
crop
so.
up in his other films?
Because they were from Mallrats, right?
They're in Clerks.
Yeah.
They're
okay.
I think they're in pretty much all the View Universe movies.
Right.
But that's the only movie they have, right? Strikes Back.
I think so. That's the only one I've seen.
I'm not really across it.
Jay Moore is looking good, man. All that weed he smokes must have just like
Dude.
crystallized here.
And he's hilarious, man. I remember him and
He's
Zack
good.
and Mary make a porno. There's one scene about the Dutch rudder. Holy fuck, that is so
There-
funny.
There is a commentary. It must be Clerks because that's really the only Kevin Smith movie I've delved into too much. That it's just them. They're all kind of like fucked up, and Jay Moore is just lying on the floor, half passed out. He's so drunk, just chiming in every now and then. It's a very strange commentary.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. This looks fun, and Kevin Smith. I listened to his podcast here and there. He's obviously a massive DC guy. He loves comic book movies. I'm liking how they're kind of weaving a few little things in there, and the cameos look pretty impressive. Like obviously they sort of CD grade cameos, but it looks fun.
Ben Affleck and
Chris
Matt Damon
Hemsworth.
or CD.
Terrible.
Done. I mean, Cheech or Chong, whoever comes up at the end, he's C or D list. Come on.
Is that who that was?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Do you know that?
Yeah.
Cheech
ever
and
watched-
or Chong.
Have you ever watched a Cheech and Chong film?
No, they look
It's
funny.
very much the same style of humor.
That's the genesis of this whole sort of stoner movie. Those guys.
Possibly, yeah. I haven't delved into it that much.
It always blew my mind that Cheech Marin was in Lion King. He's had such a career in this.
Was
Like,
he?
a voice act. Yeah, he was one of the hyenas.
Ah.
He was Bonsai.
He's also in some Rodriguez films, wasn't he?
I don't know.
'Cause Tommy Chong was the one that was in this.
Okay.
In this
that
trailer.
explains why I didn't recognize him.
Cheech was in, I think, Machete and a couple of other things.
I'm loving your pronunciation today.
Yeah,
Les
Miserables.
Les Miserables.
Miserables, thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
I remember working at the cinema and getting that. And I
Oh,
was like,
boy.
I'm gonna fucking end it, bro. I can't handle this.
We should do a podcast about the most commonly mispronounced.
Some of the
Yes.
titles we got. Prometheus.
Django was a
Django.
brilliant
Wonder
one.
in Bruges.
In Bruges.
In Bruges. Anyway, I'm not going to watch this one. Next up.
A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, the Mr. Rogers biopic.
George, you want to go first?
You know what's so interesting is Tom Hanks, man. He has one of the most unique voices. I can't shake. I'm like, that's Tom Hanks. I'm trying to no, this is Fred.
I thought he did a
Fred Savage.
Fred Savage.
What's his name?
Mr. Rogers. All right, come on.
Fred
you have
Rogers,
to admit, when he
Fred
did his
Savage.
first little singing intro and he goes like, "Hello, everyone," he did a really good impression of Mr. Rogers.
See, I guess I just don't have any familiarity with that character.
Yeah.
Have you never
have
seen
you
Mr.
have you
Rogers?
watched much?
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers stuff?
That's like a
We didn't get him in
early
Australia,
childhood.
so
At all?
Not that I'm aware of. So
wow.
I've never seen a frame of him before.
Me
I've
neither.
read a lot about him. He seems like an amazing, inspirational
Oh my
person,
goodness, yeah.
and someone who managed to make it through his whole life and die. Yes,
Yeah, he's dead.
without horrible stuff coming up about him. And fingers crossed, it seems like it's not going to happen because it's been a while.
Actually, that's
A
what this is
genuine guy.
about.
So it
This
seems like-
movie is
yeah,
just going to take a real big
scandal.
left turn. And
But
it's-
he seems like one of the most top tier guys ever to have
He-
just have lived up to his persona, which is amazing.
He's kind of one of those. You're kind of spot on, right? Like as a kid that grew up in North America, he's a pretty. He's like a staple. Like everyone would have watched him one time or another.
Another parent to everyone who grew
exactly,
up.
Okay.
Right? And you know, a couple of years later, I saw him do a testimony in front of I think it was Congress or something. And he was someone that, on top of being a good entertainer, was someone that was enormously passionate about education and just the youth of America and kind of youth around the world. And so in my mind, he's kind of like this, almost like this angelic figure. Having said that, I have zero desire to see a biopic about him. Because, I mean,
This is the story of Jesus.
Yeah, it's going to fall into the same trap that all these biopics fall into, which is you have someone that is really fantastic. They've done a lot with their life. Their life is a really interesting story, but all the stories within their life are far less fantastic.
Yeah, and they released, from all accounts, an amazing documentary about him last year that I assume would be
More
the
comprehensive.
one to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Made a lot of top 10 lists.
And
I
that's,
think.
I mean, I find that really frustrating because he's such a, like I said, not only was he a really good entertainer, but was really passionate about all the stuff that he did. So,
Completely agree. That being said, they have picked the perfect acting equivalent of
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Rogers in
The
Tom
good
Hanks.
guy.
Yeah. For now.
But once again, the voice, man, I can't shake the voice. He is Tom Hanks. He has such a distinct voice.
The funny thing was, Mr. Rogers sounded exactly like Tom Hanks. They used to say him about that all the time as well.
No, they didn't.
No.
They didn't.
no. To be fair, for some it was weird. I think he did a really good job, particularly in the beginning of that
Right.
trailer. Just kind of doing like for like as Mr. Rogers.
Yes, he's one of those actors, though. He's always very much himself. I agree, George. He's not he's a great actor, not the most range.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. We've got next, number 7 is Monos. This trailer, I had to laugh at the beginning because it said something akin to a tour de force of cinema at the
A
beginning.
quintessentially cinematic experience.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, it's going to be one of these.
Yeah, we need to take these from you. Whenever we're doing one of these movies,
No.
one of us has to
you
introduce
do
it.
because I get. I'm so conflicted
Because it
with these
doesn't go
movies.
bang, bang.
No, not even. I mean, it's. There's some movies. I think that these kinds of movies live on a
What
knife's
is these
edge.
kinds of movies?
Ones that
Good
that-
ones.
No, that's fucking stupid. Don't. Ones that try to kind of push the limits that might sacrifice. Ones that are usually less quickly paced, more kind of like ones that you'd say this is cinema type thing. Like it's hard to really define what these kinds of films are but when I talk about it, most people know what I'm talking about. And I think that these movies, they sit on this kind of knife's edge where, all it takes is a little bit too much pretentiousness or just not enough quite skill. And I think these movies fall apart really quickly in my eyes. If I feel like a movie is trying to be too pretentious, it really ruins it for me.
Did you feel like this was looking pretentious?
No. The trailer itself, not
You mean
necessarily.
more just art house films in general?
Art house films in general, and I think that has to do with, that's kind of like a symptom of where they live in terms of genre. And when those are
I'd
executed
love
well,
to see the list of all the art house films you've watched over the past 5 years.
over the last 5 years,
Mother.
I've actually watched a fair few, like more than I would imagine, probably more than you'd imagine.
Yeah.
But
if it's more than 0, then
yeah. But this is the thing. Like when I see a good art house film, I'm like, oh, cool, that was a really good art house film. But when it leaves such a sour taste in my mouth when I feel like they're trying to be, they're trying to be arty. It's something that's always really bugged me.
it would be a true crime for art to be arty. Georgie, what did you think of this film?
I'm just gonna say, like, even when I go to an art house film and maybe it's a bit slower and maybe maybe there is a layer of pretentiousness there. I never feel as I always feel like it leaves me with something like even High Life, for example, at Sydney Film Festival. Slow film, took its time, kind of weird, didn't give you everything. Kind of left you a bit weird afterwards, but it hung with me and it lingered with me. And that's what I find with art house films, like compared to like a Transformers or something. I just want to forget about that shit as soon as possible. So even if it's not successful, I tend to enjoy the genre. But the cinematography, and this is what really stood out, I think like this looks absolutely incredible. And I'd read somewhere that there's some overlap with Lord of the Flies. And when I read Lord of the Flies in high school, man, I can't tell you how much of a profound effect it had on me. It's one of those like really dark examinations of the human condition, and I'm really excited for this.
It's like you're reading your year 10 English report all over again.
It is.
But you're not wrong. Like it touches something very deep in our kind of overall behavior.
The animalistic part of
the comparison to Apocalypse Now really interested me.
Yeah,
because I assumed that was from a
course,
production standpoint, because it does look like they just shipped a bunch of kids to the jungle and gave them guns and said, let's make a fucking movie, boys.
Yeah.
And I think the results just based on this trailer look really cool.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to give this a go.
I'm really excited for this.
Yeah. I will give this a shot.
Let's do it, baby.
One shot.
It's all it takes.
There you go.
Way more
and
up
now
your
for
alley.
a real tour de cinema. Picard or Picard.
Picard.
Jean-Luc
Picard.
I make Pinot Noir on a little crop of
I
land.
would love it if he talked like this in this trailer. No one ever addresses it.
Jean-Luc, we need you back.
That's I recently rewatched not Life of Brian, The Meaning of Life, and all I can think of is the waiter like
C'est le wafer fin.
follow me.
Petit Eiffel.
No, it's the waiter after that. He's like, come with me. No, just a little further.
I was born in this house.
I was born. You don't like it? Fuck you.
That movie's so good.
So good. Anyway, sorry.
Listen,
Picard is actually what
Let's
we were
turn
talking
our
about.
attention to you, Benny, because you are a resident Star Trek fan.
Sure thing.
Have you seen Discovery season 2?
No, just season one.
So
Some
what I'm
Star Trek
seeing
fan.
in the intersphere is people are pretty not happy with how it's going, and I'm not sure if this is a continuation down that path or not. But this doesn't really look like what I was expecting with this show.
It's not looking. Yeah, sorry. No.
Well,
talking to you, Ben.
it's Patrick Stewart's second go at making Logan, I guess, because it seems to be what this is
It feels like that, doesn't
in
it?
a lot of ways. I only got halfway through the next gen, so I don't know how primed I am to watch this.
Pretty primed.
Well, I feel like they'll catch you up because they don't want to aim this only at people who've seen all 8 seasons or whatever of that show. But I'm in a similar boat. I mean, this it looks well produced, but so is Discovery.
It's got a sheen to it that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
It looks like really glossy and fake and bullshit.
Okay.
I wouldn't go quite that far, but I was.
I sort of escalated that a bit, didn't I?
I agreed with you too soon. I was like, yeah, George, tell him. I was like, no.
I rechecked my statement.
it does have this kind of sheen to it that I couldn't quite identify. It it makes me feel like it's a very particular type of TV show, and I don't know what kind of TV show that it is. It's weird. Like it's something that I recognize but couldn't identify.
Brett Spiner is looking odd as Data.
Oh my god!
Looks like they had to do a lot of work.
Great.
Well,
It looks exactly the same as 1989.
for like 30 years later, he looks great. For someone who they've clearly had to try and cram into that makeup and CGI the edges off, I don't know.
It's when he started speaking, I felt a little bit more at ease with the character. But when he was just like still, I was like, oh, it looks like they just painted his face onto a balloon.
It's like, they did the same makeup they used when it was in SD back in 89.
No, I
that toxic stuff that's given him.
So the visuals is one thing, but I think this story, like obviously a trailer's not going to tell you everything. It's not going to leave all the cards out. But like, this girl came to my winery and we got to go back to space. I tell you, damn it.
And it had to be about the Borg, obviously.
Oh, fuck off, man. Like, god damn. Like, get a bit more inventive, Kurtzman, and all you assholes.
Jesus.
Fuck. Like this, as a person who is like, I grew up on The Next Generation. I haven't probably watched an episode in 20 odd years, but I really am fond of those characters. I'm really fond of all those 90s Star Trek. And this just looks like a really weak installment, and I'm not that impressed.
My first thought was, this doesn't look terrible. I will watch this if everyone says it's great. Otherwise, I'm not going to.
Yeah, I'll probably be a sheep on this one as well.
Yeah, I agree. All right, number 9, we have Watchman, HBO's Watchman. This is a bit of a longer trailer than we previously had, I think. Giving a little bit more details into the story. I'm not sure if this was mentioned in the previous trailers, but about why the police are wearing masks.
No,
Were you guys cued into that before this?
There was not much information in the previous one at all.
Yeah, so I think that's really cool. I'm loving the kind of futuresque post-apocalypse, or not really post-apocalypse,
retro future kind of thing.
Retro future,
yeah.
Well, I love the real kind of basic, real world. Just people in hoods and loose fitting, not super stylized like Snyder's movie was. Like, it really does look like they're living in the comic world.
This looks
was set
gorgeous.
out.
Like the production design and everything it's stark in a way, but it's just quite nicely put together, and it's got that HBO sort of stamp of approval, quality assurance on it, I feel. I still don't quite get what's going on.
I don't understand that at all.
I'm like, that's awesome. I'm very happy to be in that spot.
Yeah.
Whilst with something like Picard, I feel like I've already kind of got a bit of a through line of where it's going.
Yeah.
This one, I don't even know who the main character is. So
we've got Adrian Veidt is still in the picture, of course.
Jeremy Irons.
Yep.
Awesome
and then
casting.
We see Archie, Night Owl's little airship.
Yeah.
Hopefully he makes a return.
And then we get a big Manhattan tease at the end. So he's going to figure into this, which is cool because he's such a fascinating character.
All I was thinking about, like, that's probably some of my favorite scenes in the movie was Dr. Manhattan, particularly when he's up on Mars.
His whole chapter, just that middle chapter of his, is whatever you think about that movie, that is perfect.
Gorgeous. Like, just, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 100% right there with you.
Yeah, so with the little information we have on this now, I'm certainly very stoked. Georgie, you definitely are.
I'm pumped.
Yeah.
I'm going to dial in that Foxtel subscription.
And let's not forget the Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor scoring. That's probably the most exciting element.
Bring it. Hopefully Lindelof doesn't fuck it up.
When was the last time that they did a score? What was their last
They did a documentary. They've actually been branching out a lot more. And Atticus Ross has worked on a few things on his own. So
the last Reznor.
Let's have a look.
Reznor Ross production
was a documentary, was it?
Yeah. So they did that one before the flood. Wow, he's got a lot. So wow.
Is this Ross?
Bird Box. They did Bird Box.
That's it. Yes, I was trying to think of what I knew there was an unexpected one. Your
that's right.
Favorite
Worst
film of the year.
So yeah, Bird Box, The Woman in the Window. Wow, they're pumping it out mid-90s.
This is
Death Note.
Both them. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Death Note was with Leopold Ross, which must be his brother, Atticus Ross's brother. So yeah, they're working, man, and I believe there's a new Nine Inch Nails record in the works. So
yeah,
they're working hard.
Yeah,
or hardly working.
One or the
Working
other.
hard.
You tell me, Resna. You tell me.
Yeah, cool. All right, number 10, we have The Witcher, which is being released on Netflix. I suppose
Take the reins.
that's on me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is on you, man.
Okay. So once again, my knowledge of The Witcher comes pretty exclusively through playing the games. I have not read the books, and from my understanding, this is a little bit more based on the books than the games, which, if I'm to be honest,
sucks.
no, it doesn't suck, but there's so much about the games that I absolutely loved in terms of both the visual styling and the and in particular the music. I find some of the music in that is so iconic and so well put together. I think that something, composers that do stuff for video games, I don't think get enough credit, because a good score in a video game is, these are scores that you might listen to for hours on end. And
Stuart
again and
Copeland
again.
from The Police did the most amazing soundtracks for Spyro the Dragon 1, 2, and 3. Anyway, carry on.
As a side note. But yeah, so
Do you think they captured any of those visual stylings in this at all?
a little bit.
Does it look in any way inspired, or they've just done a good job at adapting?
See, I don't know, because I haven't read the
Co-adapting.
book, so I don't know how well adapted the video game is from the book. But some of the armor, like the general look of The Witcher, is pretty on par with the game.
He looks a lot better than the initial pictures we got. He looks great in this trailer.
He looks really good.
Henry
The only
Cavill.
thing that I found a bit weird is he still feels a little bit too muscular to me, particularly in
You
that
fucked
one
up,
scene.
Cavill.
In that one scene where he looks fucking swole, like looks up, I was
man.
like, oh, that's not,
Fucking
That's
slab
not
of meat.
medieval times.
Yeah,
man.
I would
That
give
thing was skinny as fuck.
anything. I would pay you $500 to go up to Cavill and be like, "Hey man, love your work. You're a little too swole.
Yeah.
Dial it back a bit."
all
And
back
watch
to swole.
him just punch through your head.
yeah, just stare at me and watch me. Just
You do that Superman slow-mo ramp punch.
yeah, no, he'll do that.
Oh, yeah, he
where he
ch- he,
cocks
like,
his
reloads
hands.
his arms.
That was a Mission Impossible where he reloads his hands.
You
Like,
just
no,
run.
I'm out. I'm sure there's a video out there on the internet of it, like the cocking gun sound actually
I've
going off.
seen that within the last week, yes.
Have you?
Yeah.
I want to see
I
that.
made it myself.
But look, this. I mean, to be honest, the trailer kind of confused me. It didn't seem to have a bit of a linear. Like, I didn't like this
Yeah.
trailer too much. It
No,
was
me
a
neither.
little bit too like it was a lot of things happening.
It
was-
reminded me most of like Hellboy, the recent one, and the Dark Tower. Not
Oh,
in
don't
terms
do
of
that,
quality.
don't do
Not in
that.
terms of quality, just the amount of like fantasy nonsense happening
Yeah.
all around. But it's got me intrigued. Like the fact that Cavill's in this, I think at this point he's got enough sway, despite his DC being his kind of calling card. I feel like he wouldn't jump onto this unless there was some reason.
Well, and there's so much to draw from.
Money.
Like, I mean,
Money's the reason.
that's the one.
Yeah.
Do we all get paid? Or?
Again, I speak from the games on the books, but there is such a rich subtext of I guess it's kind of like, I won't say thinly veiled because it's not thinly veiled at all. Or no, it is, I suppose, thinly veiled. Kind
Maybe
of
more of a medium thickness
yeah.
veil. 600 ply.
the subtext of it is kind of about racism, and they mention it in the trailer about how the humans killed the elves, and there's this kind of class system, and it's one of those. It sounds a bit tropey, but the real monsters are humans type thing. But there's so much stuff in there to really dig into that. This, I mean, in terms of what this will probably focus on is like 80 to 90% the politics and the kind of human stories, and then maybe 10% is him kind of going off and fighting monsters. Which, if that's what they do with this, I think that could be really cool.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I haven't said anything on this, and I'm going to leave it at that.
No, look, that's fine. Like I wouldn't.
I think
the trailer looks kind of.
The
a bit
only thing I'll say
average.
is I think what they should have done is they should have had a hook about this fantasy world in here, because right now I don't know anything about this world. There's elves, there's humans. What? It's the same old shit in every fantasy world. Give me a little something. Oh, there's something out there, or there are these people and this is happening. No, it was just bog standard. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, well, you've missed that opportunity to educate me on this world now.
At this point, it might as well be a bright prequel
Bye.
for all that they've
a
shown us.
little bit, yeah.
Bye.
All right, number 11, we have Snowpiercer, which I think kind of came out of nowhere, at least for me. Like I was not expecting to see a Snowpiercer.
Yeah, I remember hearing
trailer.
rumblings of this after the film because the film got quite a good, had a good run in terms of reviews and whatnot. I just looked this up. It's all based off a French comic from 1982, Le Trains.
No, who's trying to do an accent? So is the original? The original.
It's a graphic
Snowpiercer
novel.
is a graphic novel.
Yeah. So then 2013 comes around. Bong Joon-ho brings that in, which was a fantastic film. I really did love that.
Chris Evans and Tilda Swinton is great.
Yeah. And then this one seems a little bit redundant to me in a way. Like the production design looks exactly the same.
Looks like a remake.
Tilda Swinton. I mean, Jennifer Connelly. I love Jennifer Connelly, but she has nothing on Tilda Swinton in this particular role.
Yep.
So I'm kind of figuring out what's the intent here.
Why?
Exactly.
This is meant to be long form, so it's going to be in series, right?
Yeah.
It is a series. So I mean, there might be some value in it being a longer series. We might be able to get something out of that, but
If it hits all the same beats that the movie went through,
Then
just
why bother?
over a longer period of time, then I don't know. Like, because that movie was pretty well paced for what it was like. Lots of little reveals and the way it built.
It felt appropriate for that, right? Like, kind of going from trailer to trailer to trailer, moving forward. Like it's Snowpiercer. There was a sense of urgency and all that. I don't know that I need
momentum.
to really explore the train
world.
life type thing. Like it's just, I think it was well suited to a movie. It's not very often that I don't want to see something in kind of long form and take time with character development and that, but I don't think it needs it.
And I love the sort of fourth wall as well they brought in with that one where they were definitively traveling left to right. And in this one, I feel like it's already lost that. It's from all angles and there's not like that journey of literally like that Mario platformer, go this way.
Yeah.
The simplicity of that was really interesting. And I think this one's losing that. So, I'd just watch the OG.
Yes.
Yep. Next we have number 12, which is Harley Quinn.
Awful trailer.
Yeah.
Awful trailer. I've heard good things about the show.
Okay.
I've heard it's a really cool kind of skewering of the DC universe and the ridiculousness of it all. And also they've got Diedrich Bader back as Batman. And he played Batman in the short-lived series Batman Brave and the Bold. He's from the Drew Carey Show. Anyway, he's my favorite Batman ever, I think.
Brave and the Bold.
Is he the shorter guy in the Drew Carey Show? Or what?
The dark-haired...
I know
so
exactly
the
what
two
you're
guys.
talking about. Yeah.
Kind
Wait,
of whose line is it anyway, kind of guys.
Which guys? From Whose Line? I love Whose Line.
From the Drew Carey Show?
The
Drew
Colin
Carey Show.
Colin and...
No.
Oh, okay.
Not the bald guy, the two kind of lanky doofus dudes.
Yeah. Well, is he in this?
Okay,
Is-
so just give me his name.
he's
I'm going to
Batman,
show a
yeah.
picture to George.
Diedrich Bader.
Diedrich Bader. That's not his name. That's...
That guy.
Oh.
Yeah, I knew you were not thinking of this guy.
Anyway, I'm watching this trailer. The only reason I really want to talk about it is because it looked so similar to something to me, and I figured out that it looks like the Venture Brothers, which, judging by the looks on your faces, you have never heard of. It's a long-running Adult Swim show. It's created by
It's
these...
the Thunderbirds one, right?
No, it's created by these two guys who have full control of the show. They've really taken their time with it. They release a season like every 3 years. I cannot believe how long it's been running.
Oh, the Johnny Quest one, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a Johnny Quest knockoff. Just all of these... It's spent years building this mythology that just spins off all of these sci-fi pulp heroes and all these old action heroes and superheroes and stuff. And I think this looks like they're kind of trying to do the same thing with the existing DC universe. And while I did think this trailer was terrible, I'm very interested to see if they are doing that.
I liked how it kind of had that, like it had that aesthetic of stuff that I grew up on in the 90s and the 90s, like that cartoon style. So I was kind of like, inject that with a bit of this sort of pulpy adult content. And that's an interesting dichotomy
there. Who's this aimed
there.
towards, though?
Harley Quinn fans, I guess. They have a low bar for quality.
Okay.
I've heard I think they showed the pilot at Comic-Con. I've heard comparisons to Deadpool in a positive way.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I just
I'm
mean like
getting those
the
vibes.
animation style is very much that kind of...
Cheap crap.
Yeah, I'm not even cheap crap. Like, I feel
It's the
like
best they can get away with nowadays. Yeah. The market's not there. The money's not there. The talent can't be there so much.
Cool.
Next up.
Next up, we have Creepshow. This is coming up on Shudder. Is it? Shudder, which is a streaming service.
Shudder, if you're listening, and we know you are, come to Australia, please.
Yes, sweet
we'll
Jesus,
plug
come on. This looks awesome. This looks kind of like 80s kind of, or not, maybe like
Anthology.
80s, 90s anthology. It reminds me of like Tales of the Crypt Keeper. Do you guys watch that as a kid?
Massive horror.
Yeah.
Don't
Stuff
be
like
afraid
that.
of the dark.
The
Love that
visual
shit.
stylings look very much kind of like that 80s effects.
Schlockfest.
Yeah.
Really cool practical monsters and stuff going on.
Looks like a lot of care went into this. It doesn't look like your typical. I don't know. It just feels like
It's bizarre.
the ethos behind Shudder and what they're doing. I'm really into. So I hope it's successful.
Yeah,
because they're obviously putting a lot of love into this.
and that always kind of blows my mind a little bit. Where they hit that beautiful kind of. It feels like there's a lot of effort put in, but it also looks like a kind of a low budget 80s type film. So it looks like schlocky, but also there's a lot of heart to it. So I think that's great.
Yeah, you're pumped for this, Benny?
I'm more pumped for Shudder. Like, I'll 100% watch this if I can get Shudder. I really want Shudder.
Yeah.
They've been saying all year that they're coming to Australia this year. Time's running out, boys. Come on.
Come on, man. Number 14. 14 trailers.
What a week.
Cool. Number 14, we have His Dark Materials and the latest trailer from that.
Now, I just want to jump in quickly because I know nothing about this franchise. This looks incredibly well produced and very expensive. Go.
I think.
Dangerous, don't do that.
Listen, I read the book, the first one, when I was a kid. I didn't read The Subtle Night or The Amber Spyglass.
You remember the titles? Well done.
Yep. So it was an interesting book series, but I didn't necessarily gravitate to it as much as Harry Potter. Not sure why that is, but the presentation of this looks interesting. The world is really cool with this sort of animal companion that everyone has.
Damon's, yeah.
Yeah. So like it's all set up there. James McAvoy is a really, awesome lead in this, and the little girl from Wolverine's fantastic. So Logan, sorry. But there seems to be something missing from here. There's just something not hooking me in to make me go, I have to see that.
No, I agree.
So I'm not quite sure what that is in the diagnosis, but
a lot of the trailers this week and seem to be let's shove a lot of things into the trailer, like let's put things in front of people's eyeballs, but they don't seem to have really good kind of linear stories within the trailer, or like there's no kind of overall strategy to these trailers. I suppose is the best way to put it. Like a good trailer. It's funny. You were talking the other week about how you were just like, fuck Stranger Things. I don't want to see any of the marketing, but that main Stranger Things season 3 trailer pops up in my Netflix all the time. And I usually watch it start to front because I think it is one of the best trailers that has come out this year, bar none.
Right.
I absolutely love that trailer. I've never watched a single episode of Stranger Things.
Are you tempted?
I'm tempted. Honestly, after watching that trailer, I am very tempted.
Season 1's
because it's so brilliantly put together.
I've heard a bunch of people say just watch season 1, then you can go straight to 3.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Yeah. No, honestly, it's perked my interest.
I just have to say, TV polar bear technology has come a long way since Lost. These things look great.
Yeah. Pretty phenomenal. And some nice headgear.
HBO, BBC, got that money.
They know what they're doing.
All right, guys, let's cap it off with question of the week from our boy Anthony DeRiso. Thank you, sir. This is a little bit more of a general one about the Podcast Strikes Back. How did you guys meet? How old were you when you met? And whose idea was it to start the podcast? So how did you guys meet?
So we all met at the cinema.
The Ritz Cinema in
Randwick, which
Sydney.
we all were.
I was sleeping in the back lane 2004 to 2012.
So say, hey, you need a gig, boy.
And it was kind of funny. So you started about 6 months before me, Ben. And we had actually both gone to the same school we went to the same high school.
Yeah,
I don't think
years.
we ever laid eyes on each other.
Hell no.
We were in different circles.
We are about a foot and a half different heights, so it's very hard.
We were always next to each other. We just never saw each other.
Just at different altitudes.
Yeah. And so, but at any rate, like, so I started probably about 6 months after you.
Wait, 08? 07? When did you?
08, 09. We would have been 18, 19.
I was
20.
08. Oh, sorry, I was 09 December when I started at the Ritz.
Okay.
So we would have been 07 then when we started.
I was
roughly.
08. I was 08, halfway through 08. So you must have been at the end of 08.
Okay, yeah. Because you came on, yeah. So you started, I started about 6
09.
months later, and then George, I think, started about a year after that.
Yeah, Avatar was the first movie I ushered on.
Sex in the City was mine.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Fuck,
That
what an
was a
honor.
wild time,
What an
man.
honor.
Man of
All the
drunk,
cougars.
man of drunk 45-year-old women. Oof. It's a good time to be an usher.
Splashy, where's my cosmopolitan?
Honestly, I gained a newfound fear for middle-aged women at Sex and the City 2.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been so scared for my life
Yeah, that was...
when I was ushering those films.
Yeah,
Because
that
we
was wild.
served a lot of alcohol to these women. It was not
And the
pretty.
gates open, like the doors open for the cinema, and you're like,
Oh my
"Ah!"
God. It was like that.
Crushed.
It
It's like a
was
Stampede in the Lion
terrifying.
King.
So yeah, we all met like eight or so 9 years ago.
11.
11. Fuck me.
Yeah, flies by. doesn't it?
What?
I've known you 11 years.
Shit.
I got to do something with my life.
Just working at the cinema. And
And we would... well, what was cool was like there was this little crew of us that just wanted to talk about movies and was just inherently really into movies in different ways and different levels. And then, you know, you'd go out back to start choc topping in between sessions, which is where you're basically creating these ice creams to sell. It's a big thing in
we'd
Australia.
make popcorn and ice creams in the back room. And
then everyone
Be a guy
starts
there with a
shooting-
whip.
Yeah, and then slave driver. Yeah, popcorn. And you would just get into these really in-depth conversations, and everyone was just like, it was such a fun time. Like I look
Such an
back on that
eclectic
time
group of
so
people.
fondly, and it was almost like high school. Like everyone was a really good, tight-knit group of everyone. Everyone was kind of at uni or really young, and it was still like figuring themselves out, finding their identity, talking about movies. I was just really keen to talk to everyone about their opinion and like, why did they like this movie? What do they think about this? Oh, this is coming up, and everyone was contributing, and it was so much fun. And
we used to
awesome.
have the I guess joke that we should put a tape recorder, or like just record the conversations that went on in that room.
I've got a couple.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because they range from, you know, some really insightful, like you could walk into that room and there would be the most deep and meaningful conversation happening.
And 3 minutes later, it would be the dumbest, most
Oh.
offensive shit
and
you've
then
ever heard
and
in
then
your
it'd be
life.
Dane just like screaming, running around like,
Yeah.
"Ah!"
There's so many like amazing personalities in that room. And so yeah, so the joke was always, you know, we should record these conversations. They'd be absolutely hilarious and they would be really interesting to listen to.
And then I came up with the idea to start a podcast.
And oddly enough, you two actually had a movie YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Filter fish.
Yeah, you guys
fish.
go find that shit. It's still out there.
Is it really? Oh,
Gefilte
no.
fish.
We didn't know what that was when we.
Yeah, a type of like Jewish delicacy or something.
Delicacy is a strong word. That shit is the grossest thing I've ever seen in my life.
So yeah, guys, if you want to go look at some vintage podcast
Yeah.
strike section,
Wait, it had what, like 3 episodes?
about 12.
Is it right?
Hey, we reviewed the first Avengers actually, and then the Dark
you
Knight
really?
Rises.
Dark Knight Rises, Clash of the Titans,
Yeah.
or Wrath of the Titans, actually.
Oh God. And so, but there was that quick stint, and then it was only after George, that you and me had left the cinema. And I actually remember where we were. We were down at Coogee Beach, which is a beach near the cinema. And we were having a chat about, you know, we were both starting new jobs at the time, and I, you know, I don't know about you, but I was just kind of missing talking movies with my friends.
Well,
And
Yeah, I mean, like that. Like I was missing that as well. But I just remember like our mate started a video game podcast,
that's right, yeah.
and I
Yeah,
listened
yeah.
to it, and I was like, "You guys suck.
No.
Like, we got to do better than this." And like, literally, like,
Thanks, Dick. You've done this.
My motivation, like the thing is I'm quite competitive in a way, and like,
In a way, yeah.
like sometimes
right.
I need that competition to really fuel the fire.
And you've got a sound recording background, which is a big part of this.
So yeah, for those who who don't know, I studied audio engineering for a bit, and I used to play in a band and recorded a bunch of bands as well. Did a few EPs and albums, and so it was kind of like this perfect storm of like audio equipment knowledge, the cinema, and just being a bunch of mad cunts. And like the trifecta was there.
Why did we call the show that?
The mad cunts.
And the funny thing is, like,
monetization disapproved.
And one of the funny things was I still remember us talking about like, oh, this is what we should do, and we were talking about our friends who had a podcast, and without like, there was absolutely no question that we'd be doing this with Ben. And we did this entire thing with the assumption that Ben was on board. And when we finally, decided to go ahead with it, I think it might have even been quite late into the process where we were like, Ben, we're recording on Thursday. And you're like, recording what? Like, what are you talking about? We're like, oh, we're doing a podcast. It's the three of us. And you're yep.
Okay. Cool.
There was never any question that it would be
Gefilte fish
involved in this.
returns. We're not calling it that. Oh.
Yeah, man. Like, and it's crazy. It's sort of been 2 and a bit years, and now we're sort of 200 odd episodes in, and
this is it. This is the last one.
thanks.
So
we've done that joke at least 4 times,
but one time
year.
it's not going to be a joke.
Then you'll be sorry.
Honestly, what was I say? I remember those first episodes were like so far divorced from where we are today.
And it's you know what it really is, because I listened back to the first one. It's really in the intros and like just warming into the episode. Once we got like 20 minutes into the episode, it kind of starts moving.
We've been talking about movies for
11 years.
11 years. So it's that part has never been. In fact, if anything, I think we've calmed down. In the way that we talk to each other.
This year we've calmed down.
Last
year, man, I was on a tipping point. I was like, I'm gonna fucking take Connor out, man. I'm gonna clothesline him like mid-episode.
I still remember like one of my.
I think it's the comfier chairs. Like those other chairs, they were fucking my back up.
No. I still remember you and me, George, talking to Ben about. Or no, how was it? We were talking about Prometheus. I still remember that being as like one of the most aggressive conversations I've ever been a part of. Like we were at the pub for a good hour or two just arguing over Prometheus.
But listen back to the episode, and we're like
the Prometheus episode.
Yeah, you and me are just like these stones. Like it's like Stonehenge. It's like the unmovable force with the immovable objects or whatever that expression is.
When
and
it's like an unstoppable force meets an unmovable object. Yeah.
And it's like I'm in the ground. I'm never leaving this place.
Yeah. I'm crying in the corner.
And Ben's like, fuck Prometheus, I hate that movie. Why are you still talking about it?
It's why I hate it. Why does it tear us apart?
Yeah, there've been a few of those.
Yeah. So we've known each other for ages. And,
8-ish years.
and a funny little tidbit on that is you also met your wife.
Yeah, at the Ritz.
Yeah,
I also met your wife at the Ritz.
So did I.
Hey, what the fuck?
I think she worked there before you even.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very, very shortly,
Yeah, so my whole existence is basically around rooms where they project media. That's it.
Yeah.
You got married in one of them.
Yeah. It was great.
One of the mid-sized ones. You don't want to shout out to.
The lights were all off. It got weird.
That has happened before though.
Married and honeymoon.
Yeah.
There was a wedding at the Ritz.
Weird.
That was
it's scary.
Choose a better cinema.
Thanks for that question, Anthony. We haven't really revealed this dark past, so nice to get that off our.
I knew nothing about it.
I think it's in our description on like YouTube and all that.
We probably need to give that a little update. We need to give that a little update. But guys, if you have a question for us, let us know on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Homing Pigeon, Scrolled Letter. You can even run up to us in the street, smack us over the head. Like, we're going to accept everything, so don't you worry. And don't forget...
That's not a threat to you two. You're both like 6 foot, like 12 tall. Like, no one's going to be able to smack you in the head. I'm the only one at risk of actually being slapped in the head.
We'll take that chance.
And the handprint will be there longer.
God damn it. That's also, like, I mean, I don't know if you can tell with us sitting down, but these two are like both 6 foot something. And
6'9".
I am like 4 foot something.
Like Shaq up in
it's
here.
not. It's the most disproportionate thing ever.
They can tell. They can tell.
Yeah.
If you want some Marvel news, go check out our Comic-Con Marvel episode-y thing that's up. And next week we've got some reviews. I'm totally lost track of where we're at with
They've
what
stopped
the
making
releases.
movies.
Yeah.
We ran out.
Yeah. I know. So hey,
Were you ever on track?
never. Oh no, the list was up to date up until Lion King. So
Oh, is that where we stopped? Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
so folks, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Connor, we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Benny, see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
See you next time. Bye.